Topping today's news, new anti-corruption legislation for law enforcement agencies announced. The National Security Minister rejects any involvement in corruption connected to the U.S. indictment of 11 Bahamians for drug trafficking. The Boundaries Commission set to begin their deliberations ahead of the 2026 general elections. And the world-famous Valley Boys announced a new partnership. I'm Jcn Saunders. This is your JCN Evening News. Following the revelation that the United States indicted 11 Bahamians, including Police Superintendent Elvis Curtis, who was in charge of the Royal Bahamas Police Force Air Wing at the Lyndon Pindling International Airport, and a Royal Bahamas Defense Force officer, Chief Petty Officer Darren Roca, along with retired police officer Prince Simonet and a number of Bahamian pilots and boat captains, all accused of smuggling tons of cocaine into the United States. The government, led by Prime Minister Philip Davis, is doing its best to reassure the Bahamian people that those responsible for threatening the country's national security and abusing the trust of the Bahamian people will be held accountable. In an effort to ensure this type of oversight does not happen again, while making a communication in the House of Assembly on Wednesday, Prime Minister Philip Davis promised new anti-corruption legislation before parliamentarians break for the holidays.
Before our Christmas break, I'll bring to Parliament new legislation aimed at strengthening the oversight of the conduct and operations of our law enforcement agencies. This legislation will ensure that no individual or institution is above accountability. It will provide mechanisms to prevent corruption, establish clear checks and balances, and empower independent bodies to investigate and act when breaches occur. These reforms are a proactive commitment to the Bahamian people that this government will do everything in its power to rebuild trust in our institutions.
Mr. Davis says government will act decisively to root out corruption, rebuild trust, and restore the faith of the Bahamian people, and this new legislation is a step towards achieving that goal.
We cannot allow a repeat of the failures that have been exposed, and we must create a framework that holds everyone to the highest standards of professionalism and integrity. The Bahamian people deserve law enforcement agencies they can depend on. And this legislation will be a critical step toward ensuring that those in positions of authority are held accountable for the actions at all times. It is time to set a new standard. Madam Speaker, this House has a responsibility to act boldly and decisively. The introduction of this legislation represents a turning point in our commitment to reforming and strengthening our institutions for the benefit of all Bahamians.
Mr. Davis said the indictments reveal a breach so deep that it strikes at the very heart of the country's national security. He said this betrayal of duty by police and defense force officers is unforgivable and has placed every citizen in harm's way. As it relates to those found guilty of corruption and criminal activity, the Prime Minister says the chips will fall where they may. Following the U.S. indictment of the 11 Bahamians suspected of drug smuggling, also trafficking in firearms as well, some citizens are suggesting that the corruption started under the Minnis administration. Well, on Wednesday, outside of the House of Assembly, the former Prime Minister and former leader of the F&M responded to those claims.
If any had occurred under my administration, they know exactly how I feel. Believe me, they would hide and keep that away from me because, like I say, I am totally against corruption. Corruption destroys a country. The UN and international organizations have shown that you lose 5% of your GDP as a result of corruption.
Although Parliament is adjourned until next Wednesday, November 4th, Dr. Minnis says he wants to get to the bottom of these allegations revealed in the indictment as soon as possible.
Well, let's put it like this. I will be on his back. I will be on that case. And I will throw some serious, I don't want to get into details, but I will throw some serious questions at him and at them this evening. And the public can listen and the public can analyze what I'd be asking.
Dr. Minnis said although Prime Minister Davis made a communication on the matter, there are still many unanswered questions. Again, following the U.S. indictment of those 11 men, Bahamians, accused of smuggling cocaine from Colombia through the Bahamas to the United States, one of those suspects, a high-ranking police officer, allegedly told U.S. officials that he and others were assisted by a high-ranking Bahamian politician who reportedly or allegedly received $2 million, a payoff to help facilitate the drug shipments, including the use of armed police officers. Many began to suspect that the politician in question is the Minister of National Security, Wayne Munroe. However, Mr. Munroe, who is currently in St. Kitts attending a CARICOM Securities Ministers meeting, has denied that he was involved in any such corrupt actions. He stated categorically that he has not received $2 million and that he has not been asked to accommodate any wrongdoing, or has he offered to accommodate any wrongdoing. The 11 Bahamian men arrested in the United States earlier this week will soon appear in a New York court to be formally charged. In addition to the police and the Defense Force officers, once again, the other men indicted include Bahamian pilots and boat captains labeled as drug traffickers. While in the House of Assembly on Wednesday, Prime Minister Philip Davis also revealed that the Boundaries Committee, or the Commission, has reported to him, and the process for reaffirming or adjusting the constituency boundaries for the 2026 general elections is underway.
Just let me give notice to parliamentarians that I received a letter from the Constituencies Commission, which is required under the Constitution, the Boundaries Commission, sorry. Yes, the Constituencies Commission, which is required under law that they notify me when they're about to start their deliberations. And I'm advised by the Speaker, as chair of that commission, that they will commence their work on the 11th of December, 2024.
Members of the Boundaries Commission include Deputy Prime Minister Chester Cooper, the Member of Parliament for Tall Pines, Dr. Michael Dowell, along with F&M Deputy Leader Shannon Dawn Cartwright. Justice Gregory Hilton has been appointed by the Chief Justice. He's also a part of the commission. Prime Minister Davis says he is looking forward to the report from that commission. And finally, in this segment, 25-year-old Javon Forbes of Boat Alley off Market Street, who was released from prison in March this year after serving time for vagrancy and housebreaking, has been formally charged in the magistrate court with the murder of Varentia Butler, a 72-year-old breast cancer survivor who was raped and murdered in a home invasion last weekend. Forbes is accused of breaking into Butler's home on Ross Corner, the corner of Ross Corner and East Street, in the early morning hours of November 23rd, when he sexually assaulted her and murdered her. According to JCN's records, Butler's death marks the 111th homicide so far this year. Forbes, who was caught at the scene and beaten by relatives, has been allegedly receiving death threats while in police custody. Due to these claims, the judge ordered that he be kept in isolation while on remand at the prison. He will return to court on February 27, 2025 for the service of a voluntary bill of indictment. You're listening to JCN News. We'll take a break here. We'll be right back after these commercials.